Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. You are watching the second episode of Lockdown Love. I am your host, celebrity matchmaker, relationship expert, and online dating expert, Carmelia Ray. And it is my pleasure to bring to you today Makini Smith, like bikini. That's what she said. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Amazing. All right. And by the way, we are live streaming on your page and your platform. So for those who are watching, I'm using some new technology called StreamYard, and it's awesome. So if you comment and you want to ask questions, I do encourage you to do that. This is 60 minutes of chatting with Makini. And the first thing that we're going to talk about really is entrepreneurship, my favorite topic. Okay. I have to ask you. So I avoided all the introductions because I feel as if you're the best person to tell people who you are, what you do, particularly when your entire podcast is built around having other people share their stories. So I'm so honored that you're here on video, by the way, because this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And if you go to her Instagram, I actually have it. Hold on here. Facebook is at a walk in my stilettos. Instagram is the real Makini Smith. Go ahead and give her a follow. You will notice there's no video. And so, but I don't want to embarrass you or highlight that. I'm just happy. I am just so happy that you're here. So please, without further ado, please share with everyone who you are and what you do as a start.
Well, first of all, Carmelia, thank you for having me on your live and getting me out of my comfort zone. So as you mentioned, I don't have much videos on my profile, almost intentionally, but that is going to change.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, my name is Makini Smith. I am a coach. I'm an author, and I'm also a podcast host. So basically, my brand is built around my personal story, and it started A Walk in My Stilettos from my first book, and it evolved into coaching. I got certified by my mentor, Bob Proctor. It evolved into the podcast, helping other women to share their stories. So what I do is I really just help other women build their resilience muscle, own their stories, conquer their fears, and reach their goals.
Amazing. I have a quick Bob Proctor story to share with you. The first time I met, and this is going back way when Bob Proctor was in 1997. I met him in Vancouver. He did a seminar, and his big book is Think and Grow Rich. Is that not or you were born? You were born rich.
You were born rich.
You were born rich. Okay. How did you get into that whole world? I want to, and how long ago was that?
Okay. So originally when I was going through my divorce back in 2009, I had a friend of mine force me to watch the documentary, The Secret. And I wasn't in the right headspace for it at the time, but I watched, and I was selling real estate full time. And I was sitting in the office one day doing a deal. It was late in the evening, and I got a random phone call from this guy who said that he had been following me on Twitter, and he has an opportunity for me to meet Bob Proctor. And I thought, okay. So because my phone number is on the internet, I was like, yeah, I'm busy. Just, I'm in the middle of doing a deal. Send me an email. And he sent me an email. It was a picture of him and Bob Proctor. And he was inviting me to hear Bob speak at a private meeting. And I thought, okay, this man's courses are like $13,000 for the weekend, but you're inviting me to hear him speak for free. So I thought it was a hoax.
Yeah, of course. and you went, right?
I did. I did. Something in me said, you need to go. And I told some close friends where it was going to be. And I went. And when I got there, Bob Proctor was at the door of the conference room, introducing himself to people, shaking people's hands as they entered the room. And because I was severely introverted at the time, and I'm still introverted now, but I went and I sat at an empty table, and his wife came over. I did not know it was his wife. And she started talking and asking me questions. And we were just chit-chatting back and forth. And she was asking me about my story. she's like, wow, your story's so inspiring. You need to tell my husband. And I said, who's your husband? And she turns over and she's like, Bob, come here. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my, and the introvert you must have been like, no.
Yeah, that was intense. And she went up to the room at the beginning of the meeting and before she introduced Bob, she said to everyone, oh my God, you need to hear this woman's story that I met. And I wanted the floor to swallow me because my nerves were like, don't put me on the spotlight.
How big was this room?
Oh my goodness. There was only maybe 30 people in the room. So it was at a hotel.
But it's still, it probably felt like 300 when you are being called on the spot. You have no idea. But you know what I get from that? The power of your story.
Absolutely.
I mean, the power of your own story.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So on that note, what is something that you've learned about yourself during the pandemic? And we could probably spend the entire hour on this, but maybe share something that you've learned about yourself in terms of, even maybe you've surprised yourself in a way. What have you discovered new about yourself?
I have discovered that I require a lot more alone time than I thought. I've discovered I need peace and quiet.
Okay. All right. So who's in your house right now? Because I'm gonna tell them you need peace and quiet. Okay. So
funny enough, no one's in my house right now. My son has gone to his dad's. My daughter's at her dad's.
Was part of that? Is part of that because, like, let's be real. I'm quarantining with a total of 5 people. So a partner, a dog, and 3 children. And the 3 children, like, that's a great discovery. I realize that I don't like to be, I thought I wanted to be home, but I don't want to be home this much.
Right.
So what was that new for you, or you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got 3 kids and a dog.
Okay.
So the beginning of the quarantine, adjusting with everybody being home was a lot for me.
Okay.
I'm hypersensitive that way, and I couldn't focus. I work from home. So having everyone in the house and the dog barking, it was a lot. And slowly I started to get rid of them one by one.
Oh, good.
I love everybody. I do, but I needed a moment to focus.
So you see, there's this COVID camp for kids in the Algonquin, son. You should go to that. Oh my goodness. All right. How would you define resilience as you've been through a lot, and why do you think it's important to have as a quality?
Well, I guess the dictionary definition of resilience is the ability to, get back up quickly after a difficult or challenging time. And I think that defines who I am as a person. I'm known for my resilience. I have been through trauma after trauma after trauma, and I get back up and I keep moving. So I guess resilience for me is about the ability to keep going despite of, to keep pushing despite of, whether that comes to business, relationship, personal life, what have you. So it's absolutely important to be able to adjust and to survive right now.
Absolutely. And do you think, Makini, that there are what's the muscle to develop that? I mean, I recall myself in times in my life where I didn't have resilience. And it's so interesting that, I am a different me now, but in the time and in the moment where I was going through a trauma, it took a long time to get back up. So as a coach, can you share what is the difference, or what are the key differentiators to someone who can bounce back quickly, to someone who stays in that, negative space for a while? What are some things that one can do to develop that muscle?
Okay, so some things that I've noticed difference is perspective, first of all. There are a lot of people that can experience the exact same thing, and their trauma or how they're affected by it later on in life can be completely different. But there are some people where their perspective is they hold on to that, and they have that poor me mentality, that woe is me mentality, that perspective that, oh my God, this is happening to me, like F my life, whatever people say, like all of those things, right? And then on the flip side, you've got people that are looking for the silver lining, saying, okay, why is this happening to me? What can I learn from this? What can I do to cope? How can I move through this, rather than sit in that stuck place?
So it's partially having the conversations with yourself to identify like where you're at and talking yourself out of that. Like being aware that, hey, this is temporary. You can get over this. One day at a time, maybe.
It is definitely one day at a time, but I mean, all of us heal at a different pace, right?
Sure.
Like I said before, we could go through the exact same thing in the exact same time. I've got girlfriends that have gone through breakups or divorce around the same time as me, but still haven't healed from them. Meanwhile, I've dated how many people since then?
Yeah.
It's all about perspective, right? And then there's having coping mechanisms in place, things that help you to keep going, and a great support system definitely helps with that.
That's awesome. So on that note, because a lot of times, where I deal with singles who have challenges with resilience, it's in bouncing back from a relationship or even just getting started, because the problem is I'm not meeting the right people, what have you. Do you believe it's harder for entrepreneurs to date? I really want your opinion on that.
Do I believe it's harder for entrepreneurs to date?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I believe that it's easier for us to meet people because we're constantly networking. We're always out there interacting with other people. Whereas someone who may be, in a 9-to-5, and they go home from their job and they stay home and they veg out and do whatever, like they're not interacting with people. So there's more opportunities for us to connect with new people. But it can be challenging depending on the mate.
Okay, I'm actually going to move to the next question because I wanted to talk about the pros and cons to dating an entrepreneur, right? And I say that because I'm an entrepreneur. You identify as an entrepreneur, yes? Yep. Okay. And everyone has different ideas and definitions of what an entrepreneur is as well. So based on your own experience, what are the pros and cons of dating an entrepreneur, and who really is an entrepreneur anyway? Like, just give me your perspective on that.
Well, I mean, an entrepreneur is someone who works for themselves. They don't answer to a boss. They're building their own dreams, their own empires. They're monetizing off of their talents and their abilities, right?
Yes.
Pros to dating,
or trying to. Yeah. They're in that. That's what they're trying to do, or doing it, right? Yeah. So, okay, great.
Pros to dating an entrepreneur. I feel that we're definitely driven. But that can also be a con. If it's someone who spends 100% of their time focused on their business, then that can impact the relationship, right?
Well, too much, right?
Yeah. Dating an entrepreneur, you're kind of forced to adjust to challenges, because as an entrepreneur, we're always about solving, putting out fires and doing those things. If you work for somebody or you're working for somebody else, they're basically in control of putting out all the fires. You just do as you're told. So you're, I guess, essentially learning to adjust quicker, if that makes sense.
As an entrepreneur, when you're dating one.
When you're dating one.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're used to their changes. You're used to all of those different things, right?
Yeah, entrepreneurs typically do not have a regular schedule, but it also depends on the entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs are completely scheduled from the moment that they wake up to when they're allowed to go to the bathroom. I mean, I'm being a bit extremist here, but that can be the case. As an entrepreneur, have you found that you've been attracted to more entrepreneurs, and in your romantic life, do you typically date entrepreneurs, or do you date outside of the entrepreneurial world?
I've dated both, and I've found dating other entrepreneurs, they kind of get my world. I don't have to explain much to them. They get it. They get the hustle. They get, having to do appearances. They get the constant being busy. It's finding time for us to mesh our schedules and to synchronize things. But I've also found that dating someone who is not an entrepreneur gives me more stability. because as an entrepreneur,
You're getting that paycheck, right?
yeah, but like you mentioned earlier, like as someone whose schedule isn't regular, but my days are completely scheduled. Like every hour is accounted for. So it's making time to make the relationship work. And if you're an entrepreneur and you've got conflicting schedules, or you're traveling, or you're doing whatever,
it can often feel like a juggling match, like a juggling opportunity. I'm losing my words, but yeah, it's a juggle. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
This might be heavy, and we're only half into the year. But if I were to ask you, what has 2020 taught you so far?
2020 has definitely taught me that I'm stronger and more resilient than I thought. 2019 knocked me on my butt, and I had to spend a lot of time healing and accepting a lot. And coming into 2020, now that I've healed through that and I'm able to focus on what my real goals are and what I want my future to be and what I want for my family and what I want for, those around me and those that I'm helping support, it has taught me that I'm so much stronger than I thought I was. The things that I went through, both with health and with personal and with relationships, things that I have seen other people be completely stagnant from, that they couldn't function after that, or they never wanted to date again, or they never wanted to be an entrepreneur again.
Sure.
Things that other people,
like you experienced some things that knocked you down, and you got back. You're up.
Yeah.
I mean, you're up. You're here, and you're showing up, and you're doing things that you are not expected to do, or that you would normally do. And even now, you're out of your comfort zone. So that is amazing. Hence why you do what you do, right? We are going to move into pandemic times. And on that note, because I am a matchmaker and relationship expert, I'm always going to talk about dating in some way, and entrepreneurship and business, two passions of mine. What do you think about pandemic dating, by the way? I mean, what are your friends saying? What are the girls saying? What are your guy friends saying about this time? Are you noticing a theme? Is there a recurring issue or challenge? Like, what do you think overall about pandemic dating?
I think pandemic dating is pretty much the same as being an entrepreneur during the pandemic. You've got to figure out a way to be innovative and to be creative in order to make it work. Coming up with new ways to make things work. Like, just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean everything is canceled. So,
right. Well, some people canceled, and respectfully in the very beginning, I get it. A lot of things, there was a lot of uncertainty. You don't know. And so I do have, a list of clients that have chosen to completely stop dating activity. And on the other side, I have new clients and existing clients that have said, hey, let's keep the lights on, right? Like, maybe not like open the door full, but if somebody comes along, I'm available for that person. Right. Whereas other people have literally been like, I can't shave my legs. My eyebrows are like touching. Like,
this is my quarantine glow. Okay.
You look amazing. This is day 5 hair. So it's like, I'm trying not to like manipulate my hair, but it's like sticky and I need to wash it like soon.
Yeah, I'm washing my hair tomorrow. Don't worry.
I'm just telling one on myself. I saw your braids and I'm like, why didn't I do that? Because I can't. I don't know how. and I can't go to the salon. That's why. But anyway, what are some activities that you've been doing with your friends and family during the pandemic? What have you done differently yourself?
I mean, with friends, we've been doing the Zoom chats and the Google Hangout meetings. We can't go out and gather at anyone's house and relax and have a drink. So we're all in front of our computer with our wine or drink or whatever.
Yes,
and, we're still staying connected. In terms of family, I mean, I've been still once a week when I do my grocery pickup, I'll do some for my mother, drop it off.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, we're still...
Are the kids, can you share the ages of your kids, please, for our audience?
Sure. Yeah. So my youngest son is 14.
Okay. My son is 15 turning 16. So he's going to go to grade 11 in September. So is your son in grade 10?
No, Makai's
grade 9.
He's going into grade 9.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
He's
all right.
His birthday's February. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So he's, and then who else?
My middle daughter, she is 18.
Okay.
And my eldest is 22.
Have they, like, I feel like kids feel pandemic a lot more than adults, frankly. My son, like, wants to see his friends. He's like, if your son, 15-year-old, is saying he's tired of video games, we have an issue. Okay. Like, he's bored of video games, which is crazy. And so, like, I'm making him read books, and he should have been doing it anyway. But, like, I'm kind of glad he was out of that phase. How are you keeping the kids busy? Or are they keeping themselves busy?
Honestly, both. So
okay.
my son, for one, he's very much introverted like myself. He doesn't care to socialize. He never did before. You know, he saw his friends at school, but there was no after school activity that he was concerned with. So he still connects with his friends using the online platforms, with school and with what is that called? Is it House Parties, the app that's out there?
Yes, I have it. And we celebrated my mom's 75th birthday using House Party, and it was hilarious. And she can't draw for crap. Like, she cannot draw. It was the funniest thing ever. That was great.
Yeah, but he's keeping occupied with his friends. And my daughter, the 18-year-old, she's also very introverted and has like social anxiety, although she's a social influencer.
Isn't it like just the thing, right? Like, I have social anxiety, but I have like 500,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah, like
still, you
have to go outside.
And I think that would actually give you social anxiety if you had that many, things coming at you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So you probably haven't had to plan it, but as a matchmaker, I'm looking for some insight. What are some social distancing date or meeting ideas that you'd feel comfortable with if you were, a single person and you're out there? Like, what would you feel comfortable doing right now?
So, some of the things that I'm going to confess that I've been doing, I've been doing physical distance walking.
Perfect.
Because going for walks is something that I do on a daily anyway. So if I'm not walking with my son, I'm walking with the person I'm seeing, but we're far enough apart.
Sure.
That's
gotta be exciting too, though, isn't it? Isn't it a little bit like talk about developing sexual tension to the 10th degree? Is like literally being beside somebody, looking them up at, man, you look good in that mask and those gloves, like this is the only time that we can like say to somebody, bring your mask and gloves and meet me in the park without calling the police.
Yeah.
Like, are you doing the mask thing or not? Admittedly, I'm not doing the mask thing. I do it optionally, because there's evidence that shows
it doesn't.
It doesn't necessarily work. However, I do keep my distance socially, but I think I'm even though I'm a matchmaker, I get it. I'd have a hard time keeping my hands off somebody that.
Like I don't walk with the mask on. Don't tell my mom. I do wear the mask to the grocery store if I have to go into certain other places, but for the walk outside, no, I don't.
Awesome. That's interesting. So next, what if I'm assuming you know your love language? Yes or no? Do you know it? Okay, great. What's your love language? And I'd love to hear some tips from you on how to keep a relationship going when you have opposite love languages. And I'll just give the context. Gary Chapman, for those who are listening, Gary Chapman wrote a book and created a methodology or test that showed people what their love language is. So you show love and receive love in one of 5 ways, according to Gary Chapman. There's many tests that test many other things of how you love a person. But in this case, it's words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts.
Yeah.
So it's not rocket science. My love language is acts of service and quality time, and they're pretty on par. So for me, I don't need people to tell me how great I am or you're attractive. I don't need my partner to flatter me with words. How I feel loved and appreciated most is in those acts of service and spending time with me, especially when, as a busy entrepreneur, I feel like I have very little time. So the free time I do have to rest, to relax, I really want to invest that with people I love, people I care about, people that are going to energize me, right? Yeah. So what's yours?
So mine is physical touch and quality time. Yeah, I need.
Oh my God, this is the worst time to be a physical touch person.
Exactly.
Oh my,
exactly.
Are you hugging yourself a lot? Like,
yeah, I gotta cuddle the dog.
Oh my God, the dog's probably running away from you.
Yeah, get lost, lady.
I know, right? Okay, so and in the past, have you told your partners, lovers, people you were dating what your love language was, or did you just every time? Okay,
every time I enter into a relationship, I need to know right off the bat. As soon as we see there's a future here, I need to know what your love language is, and I need you to understand mine, because for me, I know that if my primary love language is physical touch.
Did you hear that, guys? Like, it was, you didn't have a choice. You're going to know mine.
Sorry.
You are going to know mine. And you probably were wearing 6-inch stilettos saying that too, right?
Most likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you then, okay, so that's important to you, which is great. Yeah. But what I'm hearing is you're simply communicating what you need. And I don't know if you want to call it a requirement, but the things that just light you up, we do need to express certain expectations to the person you need to know what you're getting into, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you keep a relationship going when you have opposite love languages? And is it necessarily a deal breaker for you?
It's not a deal breaker for me at all. Okay. So I'm very big on understanding the person that I'm with. I want to learn them because we're not all the same, right?
Right.
So if I know that my love language is physical touch and quality time, I let them know that I need a lot of affection. If you are not being affectionate, my brain says you are no longer in love with me.
Yeah, one of our viewers says, Niti, hi Niti. Physical touch is one of mine too, so hard during this time.
It is.
It really is. Sure. Oh my goodness. So we're going to move on now to social media and relationships. And sometimes they're not a match. Okay. People have gotten into a lot of issues and challenges with social media. So here's a question I have for you. How can a single person or entrepreneur use social media to attract their partner? I'd love to hear your take on that. And I know you've worked with women do you work with both men and women, or primarily women?
Majority of my clients are women. Even majority of my following. I think about 70% of my following is women.
All right, guys, follow Makini Smith right now. And just follow all her followers. I'm just kidding. Leave her followers alone. But did you hear that? Men, if you're listening, 70% of her viewers are women. I love that. So how would you advise a woman? Because a lot of the clients that I work with are high-level entrepreneurs. They're business owners. They're successful at what they do. And some of them intentionally do not have a social media profile. And some of them are concerned about using their profile as an opportunity to attract someone. And I just think it's one of the smartest ways for you to share yourself in that way, as long as you do it in a way that's respectful and that truly honors your brand. So how would you coach somebody on that? And do you have an opinion about it? You could completely disagree with me.
No, definitely. Both for dating and as an entrepreneur, social media, I think, in my opinion, is a great place to connect with people. If you're consistent with who you are as a person. I mean, I see a lot of people use social media for just fun and memes and what have you, but is that what you want to be said about you? Is that how you want to represent yourself, right?
So, yeah, like we're in an argument and you're going to expect a meme coming through. So many people use memes really to like communicate and express themselves. Forget conversation, I'm going to send you this like emoji and that's just going to tell all. That's funny.
I love people that have a great sense of humor. I need to laugh all the time. But I think with social media, if you're going to use it for business or to attract a partner, that's a great place to build rapport and to connect with people and have conversations. But does what you're putting out there represent who you are as a person? Because I have had experiences in the past where I've dated people that I met through social media, and some of them were not a representation of who they posted to be. So
that's also a challenge. And you would think you get more of that on a dating site. A lot of people singles that I work with, I work with them through their dating apps, improving their experiences, sometimes trying to figure out what's going on, why it's not working. But yes, you can use your social media profile to tell a story, and that story can be a false one, a completely fabricated one, or the truth.
Right.
And so it's important as well that when you are posting, you've got to think, are you going to be able to keep up with this persona in real life?
Yeah, you're building the narrative of what you want people's perspective of you to be. And I have had people build a narrative online, and when you get to know them, they're trying to keep up that perspective, and then stuff falls apart because they can't keep up with who they pretended to be.
I think at the end of the day, the truth will always reveal itself no matter what. It will always do that, especially if you are moving into a relationship where you're going to end up cohabitating and then really getting to know each other. Yeah. So we talked about this on your podcast. I was a recent guest on Makini's podcast, is it called A Walk in My Stilettos? The podcast as well? Yeah. Okay, we have it here, A Walk in My Stilettos. It's available on iTunes. Where else is it at?
It's available on Apple Podcast, on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, anywhere where you listen to podcasts. You can also listen to it on my website.
Amazing. I was just a guest on their show. We talked about sliding into the DMs, and I wanted to bring that up.
Yep.
What's the best way to slide into someone's DM? And I'm asking this from a twofold question. One, as a single person who's interested in someone, and secondly, as somebody who might want to do a potential collaboration. Can you share an example of both? And let's lead with sliding into someone's DM that you're interested in. And Makini, you can either share like something that's happened to you,
okay,
a good and bad, and also I want to hear, how'd you do it? Like, have you ever done that? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so from a dating perspective, a couple years ago, I started dating someone who I slid into his DMs.
What made you want to do that? Number one. What detective work did you have to do to know, like, okay, is it cool to slide in his DM, or you were just taking a chance?
I was definitely, I don't even know if I was intending for it to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. We were connected on Facebook, and we would interact back and forth, liking each other's photos, but that was about it. And he had posted some really nice photos, and I liked it and kept it moving. And then I had a girlfriend of mine tag me on his post because she knew I was single at the time and said, "Makini, have you seen this?" And I was like, oh goodness, why is she like putting me on blast? So I slid in his DMs to basically say, I'm not crazy.
Right.
That was a really nice photo. We're just giving you a compliment. And we started a conversation from there. But I had no idea it was going to turn into something, us, dating for almost a year. But
so you were, in your case, you were piggybacking. The cool part about how you did it, there was an interaction going on the surface.
Yeah.
And then you saw an opportunity, and it was a bit coy. I swear it's not like,
I swear I'm not thirsty.
Yeah, being sweet about it, right? Like, I'm not thirsty, but I'm thirsty for you. But I'm not. I get it. I mean, that's cool, right? Like, you found an opportunity. So what I would take from that audience, if you're listening, if you can take, start engaging with the person that you're interested in to begin with.
Yeah.
But not in a stalkerish way. What you don't want to do is you don't want to deep like 52 weeks ago into every single thing, because I mean, maybe 6 likes is like, that's like not too much. There's just like, because I've come to my Instagram a couple times and like 37 likes in one, like, It's the
Like at
same.
one time. They
Yeah,
want
the
you to
one.
notice them.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
I totally get that. But anyway, it's flattering, but it could bounce. It could work against you if they don't like you. So if you just want to get noticed, start to engage, start to interact. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So you did that. What about a memorable DM that came into your inbox that you were like, that was kind of cool? Can you recall something like that?
Yes, actually. Funny enough, I've had 3 relationships that started through social media. So there was one.
There you go. Okay.
He slid into my DMs, and because I post a lot of motivational stuff, he slid into my DMs every now and again, not only complimenting the post and saying that was a great post, but wanted to have further discussion on the post.
There you go. First of all, it is not doesn't have a sexual overtone at all.
Yeah, there was none.
This person is getting behind the mind and engaging with her about a post and its meaning rather than, oh, I like how you look, but everybody likes how she looks. Like you're going to like how she looks.
Yeah, guys who slide into my DMs and talk about my appearance, like,
don't bother, right?
Yeah, no.
Note to the men that are listening, and it goes both ways, ladies. You don't. I'm complimenting a man on his looks. You might think that men don't get complimented, but attractive men and women get complimented by same sex, opposite sex.
Yeah.
If they're aesthetically pleasing, they're likely going to have I don't know, umpteen number of compliments on their aesthetics.
Yeah.
So compliment them on something that has nothing to do with their looks.
Yeah.
Next, what do you like to post about when it comes to your social media? And I mean, I don't want to go look and see. I want to ask you, what's the choice that you make when you post something? Like, is there a thought process, or are you more organic with it, or are you strategic about that?
When I post on my social medias, I mean, it depends on the platform. But if we're, I guess, speaking about Instagram and Facebook, I'm intentionally posting stuff that is motivational or educational. I am either trying to motivate you or educate you, but I'm using my story and my expertise to do so. So before I post anything, I ask myself, like, why am I posting this? Is it inspiring? Can they learn from this? Like, what are they getting from it?
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's never like, not that never, but what I'm hearing is it's not really self-serving. It's not like, hey, do I look cute in this? Versus, is what I'm about to post going to make a positive impact to someone who's actually watching this post?
Yeah, I'm big about
versus being concerned of like how many likes you get. Correct?
Yeah, I'm big on the impact. So every now and again, I may post, I'm going to say, a photo of my kids, but sometimes I'll try and add like a story behind it, something that makes sense, something that can help other people or something they can get from it. With Facebook, I don't post as much anymore on Facebook because I'm not really targeting my family and friends for my business so much. So I may post a photo of my kids, but I'm intentional with what I post on social. So
would you say that Instagram, from a business perspective for your particular business, has taken the lead, or do you also use LinkedIn? Which do you find the most impact in your own business for what you do?
Definitely Instagram, because I mean, I'm a visual person, so I will mix the visuals with the quotes, with the lessons. And I find there's a lot more engagement in my DMs with other women on Instagram. And
I know, it's great.
I make it open so that they feel that we're relatable. I can resonate with them. Feel free to slide into my DMs. We have conversations. Some of them will hire me as their coach for different things, but I haven't, put that wall up where I'm like, yeah, don't DM me, because that's not how I am as a person. I prefer to be seen as someone who is warm and inviting. So it allows more conversation. But
that's amazing. Yeah. I wanted to move on to whether you've got some general do's and don'ts when it comes to sharing content. And I'm saying this from the perspective that, you have a method to the way that you share and post content. Not everybody, strategically, or not even strategically, has the intention that they have their Instagram account for other people's benefit. what rules do you have or do you follow that you coach your clients in terms of like just sharing content in general?
I guess part of what I said earlier about with myself, like ask yourself, what is the purpose of this post? And is it helping anyone? When you're thinking about posting, if you're posting for a business, does it even align with your core messaging? Is it in line with who you are, your core values? Like I wouldn't post, I don't know, something totally left field with like cursing and all kinds of stuff in there because that doesn't align with my brand and who I am as a person, right?
So you're not going to have some gangster rap in like one of your tiles, just left to center. Hey, check out this latest TikTok from a gangster rap person. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe my story because you could put whatever in there, but not
exactly. Should you do a little internet stalking when you're dating someone? And maybe it shouldn't be. I could say it should. And I could ask you, do you? I think everybody, I'll just say that everybody probably does, but how does that make you feel? Like, how would you answer that question? Should you do a little internet stalking when you're dating someone? For example, let's say your daughter says, Mom, or any of your kids, Mom, I met this person. Like, check out their Instagram. Or do you say, because I say this to my daughter right away, let me see their Instagram. Let me see that Instagram. What is this? Why are they in the bathroom? Why are they? Where's their shirt? Like, what is going on here?
Look at all the laundry on the floor and the behind.
I know.
Like, what are they doing? No.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think?
Okay, so here I've got two different perspectives. So I am not the biggest fan of stalking someone that I'm dating on social media because I do believe that I have dated people who have put up a false persona online. I have dated someone who branded themselves as a relationship coach, and their whole Instagram was about love and all kinds of stuff. And he knew that I'm a lover of love. But getting to know him, and we did a lot of FaceTimes, he was not who he portrayed himself to be online. So so
you have an experience, however, you personally have an experience where the Instagram didn't match the reality. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
He was very controlling and not who he portrayed himself to be at all. And on the flip side, I have been stalked by someone who, let's just say they did all of their research on me and knew exactly what I liked, knew everything. So they said all the right things. They were able to manipulate their way into my life. But yeah, he used all of the info that I put out there basically against me.
Ooh, that's another one. See, if you don't use the Instagram or the social media for manipulation, just as you said, it's a great way to kind of get insight. And here's my coaching for those who, like, I would just be cautious about making decisions either way, a decision to meet or a decision not to meet based solely on their social media profile, because there are just so many things going on. And people, frankly, also go through different periods in their life. If you're judging somebody for what they posted a year ago, by the way, I wouldn't be on this podcast or on this show, right? Oh my goodness. I think I had a Facebook profile. Carmelia Ray is my brand name. I've owned this a long time. I had a different profile a long time ago, and I found that account and I'm like, oh my God, destroy. I'm like, what is this? But yeah, like you have to be careful of that. We've set up, as matchmakers, I've set up dates with clients and they've canceled on dates because they discovered something or found something. And sometimes that's not fair. And a lot of the times you don't have the story. So to your point, Makini, this person, what unfortunately used your information to manipulate and say all the right things. And the positive side of that, if you have good intention, it's a great way to build rapport, establish commonality right away. Right.
And I had a great experience. I had one person that we started dating. We were Instagram friends. This was years ago, but we were Instagram friends, and I thought he was kind of a jerk online. And I was like, we can just be friends.
Yes.
And we did an event together. We got to know each other. And I realized he was an absolute sweetheart. And he did, I'm going to say, some of the most romantic things for me ever, like made me a milk bath and gave me a massage, did like the whole, but I never would have given him a shot.
Like a real, like you said, milk bath. So like a real milk bath.
Like,
I'm going to be completely
literally
gullible here.
got like powdered milk and boiled it on the stove and brought it up to the bath and filled the tub and poured the wine. Like
the women want his number right now. You're done with him. Share. Okay. Share. That's a great experience. Kudos to you, guy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, even those wonderful relationships and experiences, in your case, it had a shelf life. I've been through massive heartbreak. My very, very first heartbreak, I was 19 years old. It was the first real love of my life, where I thought was love at the time. Clearly wasn't. And I recall going through that, feeling absolutely devastated. I'm young. It's the first time I'd ever experienced that. I didn't live at home. I probably was on the floor through a severe depression for like 6 months, not even knowing that I was in that kind of a state. So do you have any advice for overcoming heartbreak and getting over an ex? And I'm gonna suppose you do, because you talked about resilience, and we're just new friends, we're new acquaintances, and I've learned some things from you. So please share with our audience. There could be somebody here right now going through this, and you don't always have to be going through a breakup to just feeling heartbroken or maybe even lonely right now. Very difficult time. So what advice do you have on this topic?
I mean, I've been through divorce. I've had 2 relationships that were 8.5 years long that ended. I have had relationships with guys that I thought I was going to marry, and they ended unexpectedly. So honestly, dealing with a breakup is the same thing as like grieving somebody who was passed on to another life.
Yes.
You have to go through those stages of grief. You have to go through the shock. You have to go through the denial. There's like the bargaining stage, the guilt phase, the anger, the depression, and then you come to acceptance, right? So
acceptance is the last part. That's the hard part. No, we're in the know.
I'm one of those people, and maybe that's me building up my resilience muscle, but it'll take me a few months to get through that heartbreak. But those few months are hard. Like I am crying all day, every day. I won't eat. I'm a mess.
Okay. But you allow yourself to be messy.
Allow myself to feel. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Okay. I allow myself to feel, because it's a grieving process. We have to go through it. It's the same way if somebody passed on in life and they're no longer here on this earth, but this person has passed on out of your life. You still have to go through the process. You still have to go through the motions. You still have to feel all of that and adjust to what is no longer, the idea that you may have had about your future, the idea that you may have had of what you two look like together. Like it's a process. You have to go through it.
You just painted this horrible, I'm like, the future babies we're never going to have. Oh my God.
The wedding that I planned.
Carrying the skeleton of that relationship. Just drop it. Okay. How do you console yourself when you're going through something gut-wrenching like that? I mean, you mentioned something that you did allow yourself to cry.
A lot.
Okay. Was there any other kind of like go-to when you knew you were in a point where, I'm in this? Like, how do you console yourself? What's something that you can do?
My last 2 breakups were very hard on me. Very. Like they took me it
took you out for a bit, right?
Took me out hard.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I had to go through the anxiety attacks. I had to go through locking myself in the room and crying all day and not wanting to eat. And thank God I have friends who are absolutely amazing, who look out for me, who show up and make sure that I eat, and show up and kick my butt so I get in the shower, and will put on something funny that we can watch and get me out of my feelings.
I was going to just ask you that, because how does one console a friend who is experiencing a breakup or divorce? Because sometimes as friends, we don't know what to say, and we don't know how to behave or how to act. And And you just talked about how like a certain select group of friends, maybe all of them. By the way, if you look at her birthday post on her Instagram that her friends did, an incredible compilation of like all fighting to be her best friend. Like, it is so worth watching the 8 minutes. I should have had popcorn. I watched the whole thing. It was so incredible. That's how I know, like, you're a special. I already knew you were a special person, but that was a testament to the longtime friendships that you have. So
I have some amazing
you're
friends.
you're a good human being. She is a good human being. So how do you like to be, like, what's your preference for consolation when it comes to friends? Not your first breakup. So, and how do you think that you should delicately approach someone? Because there also is a point where your friends kind of like, they tiptoe a little bit, right? Like, they don't really know what to say, and you're crying all the time, or you're in that funk, and like, they don't want to cross the line either to you being able to grieve, and then the point where they want to slap you out of it, right?
Yes. I mean, there's two ways to look at that, because your friends want what's best for you, right? Yes. So they may want to tell you that he wasn't worth it, or blah, 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 whatever they want to tell you. But at the end of the day, your feelings are very real. Your hurt is very real. So sometimes as a friend, we don't need to hear everything you thought was wrong about that person. We just need an ear. Allowing us to cry on your shoulder, allowing us to actually voice how we feel. Because sometimes in those relationships, your feelings were invalidated. So having your friend to help you validate that your feelings are real, how you feel matters. For me,
and like you said, like, not to demoralize the person, and not to say, well, he was bad for you anyway. Like, that's not going to help the situation.
But I don't need you to tell me that right now. I'm crying.
Right. Get me a pizza.
Yeah, like, my friends make sure that even if they can't give me any advice, because I may not want their advice, I just need you to be an ear so I can talk. So I can hear myself process my feelings to get it out, so I'm not suppressing it, and then I don't stay in this depressive state. But also having friends that comfort you. Like, because my love language is physical touch, I need my friends to hug me when I'm crying. That makes me feel better. You know what I mean? Like, us going out to dinner, and we can't do that right now, but
sure. Sure. We can't touch you either, but you're on your own, girl. You're on your own.
Just being there, just being supportive, just physically being there. I've had many people that have got me through really hard times just by checking in on a regular basis. And because I don't really like to talk on the phone, I have friends that will send me a daily text message so that I know, like, they're thinking about me. That text.
So you're a texter versus a phone person?
I mean,
there's nothing wrong with that, but
if we're dating, I'll compromise and I'll talk to you on the phone, but I don't want to talk to anybody else on the phone, because I'm on the phone all day with clients.
Okay. So you respond faster to text than a phone call.
Absolutely. Yeah. My phone has been on Do Not Disturb probably since.
All right. So texting is your love language as well. Okay. Yeah. This is probably, I'm interested to hear your perspective. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that men make inside a relationship? And I'm not trying to point out men as bad. Okay. I know you have ladies that are listening. I'm a matchmaker. I'm literally just asking a question out of context to, what do you think biggest mistakes men make in a relationship?
For one, not being vulnerable. I think that some men are programmed to think that vulnerability is a weakness, and it's not. It's actually a strength. So men who are afraid to be vulnerable, that could get you in problems in a relationship. Men who lie, but not only lie to you, but lie to themselves about how they really feel or what they really want out of life. You know what I mean? There are guys that will lie and say things because they think that's what you want them to say.
So you like men carrying on a facade, or maybe not even, they're just not, they're afraid. Almost hearing you say that they're maybe afraid, correct? Like afraid to speak their mind or to tell the truth.
With the vulnerability piece, there are men that are afraid because they feel like a woman's going to take advantage of them if they show their softer side. But in terms of them lying, there are a lot of men that are lying to themselves, and they're not being truthful about what they really want, whether they want a marriage, whether they want a committed relationship. They say what you some, not all, but they will say what they think you want to hear versus how they really feel. Like, just be honest. Save us both the headache. Like, if you don't want to get married or you don't want a committed relationship, just because you are enjoying my company, don't waste my time. Like,
right. Well, sometimes they don't say things because they want their cake and eat it too. This one is like, I know a lot of people have asked me this. Do you think people who've fallen out of love can fall back into love if they make an effort?
I know some people are going to hate me for this, but I'm going to say yes. I am going to say yes because based on experience, it has happened. And let's say the first try, we were either not in the right place or we had some growing to do as people, and we weren't ready for us to be a couple at that point. We may have had love for each other, but we weren't ready. It wasn't the right time. And reconnecting and having the opportunity where we both had life experience coming in this time. We are both now more aware. We've had things that have happened where we can truly appreciate each other, or we're in a different space now, knowing that what I valued 10 years ago versus what I value now is two completely different things. Who I was 10 years ago, the angry Mac, who I was 15 years ago, is not the calm, easygoing Mac that today is. Yeah.
Right. But what also has to happen is that both people need to be willing to give it that, like, one last, swing or whatever the case is, because one person can't carry all the weight for the other, right?
No, absolutely not. No.
Do you think love is a choice, or that love is more of a natural phenomenon? What's your feeling on that?
I definitely don't feel it's a choice.
Okay.
If I could turn it off, sometimes I would. I'm known for being a lover of love. Even with my heart broken, I love love. So I don't feel it as a choice, but I do feel that love it's a verb. It's an action word. It is something that you have to show and be, even when you're not around that person.
Yeah. Okay. No. I've see, for you're an empath, aren't you? Yeah. Like, you're very intuitive. Yeah, but that's what part of what it is. And oftentimes when I coach, or I'm in conversation with a single person, or even someone in a relationship, they choose it, right? Like, you can choose to love that person or not. And when you choose that, you have to choose. There's actions that follow up with choosing that. It's not just I love you, or I only love you when, or I only love you if. Is I love you despite, because of, like, all of those things, right? So some people do choose that. We're going to go over, I promise we're not going to go so much over. I want to just talk very quickly about mentorship very quickly. Mm-hmm. Have you had a mentor, or have you been a mentor?
Both. Yeah. Okay. I definitely believe in mentorship. I believe that it saves you time, money, headache, heartache. I believe that every good coach has a coach. And I don't know where I would be today if I didn't have the amazing coaches and mentors that I have had in my life. Like, I've been able to get perspective on things that I probably never would have understood or had an opportunity to get to know, thanks to my mentors. Like, the things that I've learned from Bob Proctor, like, I think he's almost 90 right now. So a 90-year-old white man teaching this 40-year-old black girl, like, life perspective has changed how I view so many things in life. So I have mentors and coaches for different areas of my life.
That's so great to hear. And I subscribe to that 100%. What dating advice would you give to a 19 or 21-year-old, really a young person who's fallen in love? Maybe you're giving this advice to your kids already, but, like, you're like, do you really want me to give you that advice right now? You're not going to want to hear. Don't worry, this is temporary. I literally gave my daughter advice to that note with her first boyfriend when she was 17. Like, they were prom king and queen. And I was speaking to her as a wise, older, woman that's been through it. I said, I don't know if it came off the way it did, but it's not going to last, sweetheart. It's okay. Just relax about it.
Yeah.
It didn't last, but, like, what advice would you give?
Okay. So it's a tough question, because So both my daughters, their father, I met him when I was 14, and we were together for 8.5 years.
Wow. So you started dating their
I
dad.
met him just before my 15th birthday. Yeah.
Wow.
So we were
Okay.
together 8.5 years, right? But we
Wow.
evolved in separate directions. So
Okay.
my girls now, sometimes they want to make like lifelong decisions with their boyfriends. And I'm just like, okay, I know that you feel very strongly about him. You may feel that you love him, and you very well may love him, but he may not be the same person 10 years from now. Or you may not be the same person 10 years from now. So don't make permanent decisions at 1921 about the person that you're dating. Just think long term, because when you're 1921, you think that this is going to be the love of your life for the rest of your life, when more chances than not, it may not be.
Sure. And it also depends too on, like, a lot of young people now are already entrepreneurs. They're already in kind of like, well, this could just be their first project. They
Yeah.
may not end up being who they are today. So there's still so much growth. So that's amazing. So where can we are past this flew by so quickly. It was so fun. Thank you. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
I'm so honored because she literally doesn't do video, but
Yeah, I don't like video interviews. I normally say
don't know
no.
why. You nailed it. It
You
was
caught
amazing.
me right on time, because I was already ready to like come out of my own comfort zone and start doing an Instagram live
I
series.
saw that. I was like,
Okay, all right, girl.
this is why I got the yes. I got the yes because I asked, and the divine timing, right? I was gonna say she was already down. I'm gonna get her when she's down. Like, she's doing her thing, which is amazing. Okay. So how can people follow you? Where can they listen to you? Just share whatever you'd like to share for those who are the first time hearing you and would like to just be in your presence and learn from you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So my website, it's awalkinmystilettos.com or makinismith.com. If you Google A Walk in My Stilettos or Makini Smith, you'll see the books pop up, the podcast pop up, previous interviews pop up. You can find me under everything, Makini Smith or Walk in My Stilettos.
I love that. I love that. And we've had so much engagement. Thanks to everyone that has listened, that has asked questions, that have empowered us and inspired us as well. And I will be back for another episode of Lockdown Love. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Vicky.
Thanks, Carmelia.